They smashed through my front gate at exactly 3:17 a.m. No warning. No phone call. Just the deafening roar of a lifted truck obliterating my custom cedar and iron ranch gate like it was made of cardboard. I bolted upright in bed, heart racing, while my dogs exploded in a frenzy of barking. Seconds later, blinding lights lit up my front yard like a concert, white, flashing, chaotic. At first, I thought I was dreaming. Still in my boxers and boots, I stumbled to the window, and what I saw made my blood run cold. For people in yellow safety vests with CHO enforcement duct taped across the front, walking straight onto my property like they had a search warrant from God himself. One held a clipboard. Another wielded a crowbar. They stormed through my garden gate, past the old swing I'd built for my niece, and went straight into my barn. That barn was sacred. It held decades of tools, my grandfather's gear, and the fully restored 1965 Mustang I'd been working on for years. And these people, they didn't even look guilty. They looked at me like I was trespassing. I called the cops. Not just because I was furious, but because I was shaking. This wasn't a dispute. It was a crime. By the time the sheriff arrived, those four were still rifling through my things. One of them, a bald guy in his 40s with a too-tight vest, stood over my Mustang, talking like it belonged to him. Another, clipboard lady, was photographing everything. They were digging through my workbench, my feed barrels, like they expected to find something illegal. Deputy Willis didn't hesitate. He and another deputy ordered them out at gunpoint. The clipboard lady tried to mumble something about property inspections. Willis shut her down quick. "This ain't your land, ma'am. And you just committed felony trespass." They were arrested on the spot. That night shook me to my core. But it wasn't the beginning. And it sure wasn't the end. It all started 3 months earlier with a simple envelope in my mailbox. "My name's Jake Monroe. I'm a 38-year-old rancher and veteran, living on 12 acres in Red River County, Texas. Land my grandfather bled to keep. The trouble came from a new development a mile down the road, Sweetwater Ridge. They built rows of gray vinyl homes with fake shutters and identical porches, each flying an American flag. The place looked like a military barracks for step-forward families. They had an HOA, which should have had nothing to do with me. But it didn't take long for them to start meddling. The letter was from the Sweetwater Ridge HOA. "Dear neighbor," it began. "To ensure the value and peace of our community, we ask nearby residents to maintain shared aesthetic standards." It listed violations on my property: unapproved fencing, visible rust on my covered Mustang, livestock, a non-standard mailbox. I laughed. My property had never been in their HOA. I wasn't even in the same zip code. So I ignored it. 2 weeks later, I got another letter with a $200 fine. I drove straight to their so-called HOA office, a trailer decked out with cheap flowers and a plastic welcome mat. That's where I met Beverly Hargrave, president of the HOA. Late 50s, pantsuit in 100-degree heat, and a smile that said she'd eat her own young for a zoning permit. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "I don't fall under your HOA. I've never signed anything. You have no jurisdiction over my land." She just smiled. "Oh, but you do. The new development plan includes a shared boundary clause. Anything within 1 mile is subject to our aesthetic standards. It's in the supplemental CCRs. I don't belong to your community," I told her. "You don't own my land." "We'll see about that," she said. That's when the games began. Drones began buzzing over my property. Notices started showing up on my fence posts. 5 in 2 weeks. At first, I tried to be neighborly. Invited a few of them to a cookout, ribs, sweet tea, let the kids feed my goats. Thought I could show them this wasn't just land, it was a way of life. Then I put up a sign. "Private ranch. No HOA jurisdiction. Enter at your own risk." 3 days later, I got a notice for defamation. I sent a cease and desist letter. They responded by suing me. The judge tossed it before it could even warm the docket. But it didn't stop. I found tire tracks cutting into my pasture. Someone cut my barbed wire fence, let 2 of my goats escape. I installed trail cams. Caught someone in a reflective vest sneaking around at midnight. The sheriff said, "Looks like someone from the HOA is getting curious." Then came that 3:17 a.m. raid. The footage from my hidden barn cameras captured everything: clipboard lady, the crowbar, the guy kicking my toolbox. My lawyer, Hank Doyle, a retired JAG officer, called it a goldmine. "This isn't just trespassing," Hank said. "It's conspiracy. We've got intent." Damage. Coordination. We go civil and criminal. It was more than I wanted. But I wasn't backing down. Then came the visit from an old neighbor, Marlene Patterson. Sweet lady. Banana bread in hand. She leaned in and said, Jake, I heard them talking at the clubhouse. They're trying to push you out. They want your land to expand the subdivision. Said if they prove you're a nuisance, they can force you into compliance or get the county to rezone. I dug deeper. County zoning applications listed my land as pending compliance. And that's when I realized they already planned to take it. Worse, the barn camera had audio. One clip caught clipboard lady whispering, if we move that junk, we can say he's storing hazardous materials. That'll force a shutdown. They were going to fake a violation. Just as I was about to file charges, I got a letter on my doorstep. No stamp. No return address. Just 5 words. Drop it. This isn't yours. It chilled me. Someone had walked right up to my door. I gave the letter to Hank. He looked at me and said, time to go federal. 2 days later, code enforcement showed up. Anonymous complaints. Photos of my car, supposedly leaking fluid, completely faked. Even the inspector admitted off the record they're trying to make you a public nuisance. Then came the fire. It started near the mesquite grove. The wind pushed it toward the barn. I fought it with a hose. Neighbors showed up buckets, rakes, anything they could grab. We stopped it before it reached the barn. Then Susan held something out, a half-melted road flare. Taped to it was a note, next time we won't miss. The fire marshal confirmed it. Accelerant used. Intentional. Arson. That was the last straw. I filed full criminal charges. Arson. Conspiracy. Harassment. The state took over. And then the feds. A few days later, I was sipping coffee on the porch when a black town car rolled up. Out stepped Daniel Pierce, vice president of Greenlock Properties, the company behind Sweetwater Ridge. We'll buy your land, he said. More than market. Not for sale, I told him. Then we do this the hard way. Bring it. The next morning, every animal I owned was gone. Gates open. Fences cut. A spray-painted message on the barn. This land isn't yours. We tracked the thieves to a construction site for Phase 2 of the development. An empty trailer bore my ranch's initials scratched out in black spray paint. Susan tipped me off to a storage facility. That's where I found the animals, dirty, hungry, but alive. That was the break we needed. The state raided the HOA office, Greenlock's headquarters, and started pulling files. They found everything. Emails, plans to force me out, references to heat things up. And finally, a late-night visit from Deborah herself, caught on trail cam, gas can in hand. She was arrested right there on my porch. 6 months later, the HOA was dissolved. Greenlock collapsed. Deborah got 15 years. Court awarded me $680,000 in damages. But what mattered more was this: we stopped them. We proved that no clipboard tyrant, no corporate suit, no midnight thug could bully a man off land that was his by right, by blood. This land doesn't belong to me. I belong to it, and I'll fight for it again if I have to. Because some places, some people are worth it. And if you're facing your own storm, stand your ground. Push back harder. You're not alone.